January 11th, 1966. Close encounter of the second kind. UFO sighting happened in Wanaque, New Jersey. I think this is one of the most underrated, not talked about UFO sighting. I think this is bigger than Roswell. Dude, so on January 11th, 1966.
57 years ago.
That's right. You have men in black. You have government cover-up. You have mayors. You have police officers that actually witnessed this sighting.
Kids burning down Christmas trees.
Yes, there was Christmas trees, but that's not the real story.
The real story is around 6:30 p.m. that night, it was reported that a bright light was near the dam of the reservoir, and people thought it was burning of the Christmas trees that was taking place that night. The cops got called.
They got flooded with calls, not just from in Wanaque, but from neighboring towns. A lot of lights going on. Is there something military? Is there just aircrafts that we're not aware of? Something happening out there. People were panicking. And in 1966, I would be panicking too.
Well, yeah, you think about the technology that they had back then. They don't have cell phones. You know, they have like radios. There's no like news 24/7 that possibly report on this, or like people take pictures and send it out. So if you see a strange light that's not supposed to be there, like I would freak out too.
And it was Wanaque patrolman Joseph Sisko that was in his cruiser when he got the call from Pompton Lakes Dispatch saying there's some mysterious lights over the Wanaque Dam. You have to go check this out.
Yeah, and he even reported like when he first saw the light, it was a steady white light that was changing colors to red, that it kind of looked like something could be burning. But as he got closer, it wasn't.
Yeah, and they describe it, this mysterious object was just hovering over the frozen lake. He described it deliberately. It was doing different patterns, and then the altitude was anywhere from like 250 to 1,000 feet up. So this is definitely not some lights in the sky, like so far up, because 250 feet up, that's not far.
That's not that high. And plus, he reported that there was no sound, that there was no like rotors from like a helicopter, which comes into play later, or any other types of sound. It was just quiet.
It was quiet. Not only did Sisko, but other people in the area, they were reporting that a beam of light was being shot down into the water.
Yeah, and that was melting the ice that was formed on top of the reservoir water.
There was some kind of a craft underwater making that sound.
Yes, it was a continuing rumbling from under the water. And I said, what could be doing that? I had the impression that there was something in the water that was coming out or wanted to come out of the water. And it was big enough to cause a rumbling under the car, to cause a vibration on the car. And all during this time, the AM radio was receiving those high-speed Morse code transmissions.
Floods of calls just from this night were going on and on. Getting back to the burning of the Christmas trees, because that's where a lot of people were, including the Wanaque mayor, Harry Wolf.
Yeah, and his son.
It was his son Billy, who was 14 years old, and there was also a couple council people that were with them. So there was a lot of people that witnessed this event, and once they heard about it and they saw it, they all kind of congregated to where the Wanaque Dam is.
Yeah, and they also got on like top of the dam, because at one point it was said that it almost like landed.
And if you're the mayor, you would think that if there was some type of event, whether it was the police or military, he would be notified that there's something going on.
It's just a strange series of events. Even if you saw that today, like I would kind of be like freaked out if we were all outside and we witnessed something like of a strange light coming down. The reports were it didn't look like any star because it was so bright and low, and it was changing colors.
Well, that's too. And Sisko himself, remembers hearing all these, calls being flooded in, and he said it was just going bananas. That's what he said. It's just going bananas. And they were getting calls from a 20-mile radius that was flooding police headquarters, because he was also calling other police, to come to the area. And so he wasn't the only police officer that saw this event happen.
Yeah, that from 20 miles away that they were getting calls. So if it was that bright that you're getting calls from a 20-mile radius, just think about like where we are right now. Think about in 20 miles, like everyone could see this. Like that's kind of freaky.
Well, yeah, if you're experiencing this thing moving patterns that you're not used to, and it's going around the night sky, and the Ramapo Mountains are right there. So like that whole range, and this is North Jersey for people that don't realize. Where we are, we're more centralized. This is about an hour north of us. Yeah, people are seeing this. because it's not just right by the water, shooting the beam down. It's going up, it's moving around. People from other towns are seeing this. And there was one report, I wouldn't say it like split, but they saw other lights. Like people were reporting the kind of lights at the same time.
Yeah, it was like almost like a searchlight spotlight kind of deal, where the lights would go out in different directions. And also another thing that happens in every, I think, UFO or like paranormal case, where like electronics go like haywire, and Cisco reports of his radio just scrambling.
To me, this is why like I understand Roswell, there's something that crashed and was taken away, but this is hundreds of people, police officers, council people, defense people at like the dam seeing this, the mayor, little kids, older people in 20-mile radius, like hundreds and hundreds of phone calls.
But I think like back then, like you didn't have the news spreading ability that you have now. So I think, I think that's why it didn't blow up.
Yeah, but not only that though, I wouldn't just be like, if I went outside and I saw like a strange light, my first thing wouldn't be call the police. I mean, I understand there's a lot of people that do that. What's a strange light going on? I don't know, sir. All right, thank you. I saw a strange light. I know back in the day you couldn't really whip out your video camera and film real quick. But at the same time, it's like, all right, I see a light. It's not hurting me. No big deal.
Especially back then, I think people get paranoid and look to the cops and look to everybody to like ease their anxiety, I guess.
Well, that's the thing. And it didn't just happen this one night. It wasn't just January 11th, 1966. It was going on from like 6:30 when the initial calls started coming in. Joseph Cisco was still saying at 4 a.m. the next day on January 12th, he was still seeing the lights. They were moving like north and south and coming along the horizon, and it was pretty much going off to Wyckoff. It's crazy that this UFO sighting, because usually when people see UFO sightings, even today, like when we see people with
seconds and that's it.
Yeah, like when you see people with their cell phones, like, oh my God, even like the Tic Tac video that has been going around and people share that constantly. I understand we only get a small snippet of it, and there's probably like a big long video of this, maybe even like hours. We're not talking about just like an hour footage of like, the Tic Tac video. We're talking about 8, 9, 10 hours of UFO sighting that people will see that.
To me, like looking at this kind of logically, it's got to be then something, I don't know, like
you
not
can't
UFO,
explain
like it's got to be something else. Because
so you think it's like military?
I would assume so, just because like why would it stay around that area and for what purpose? Because a UFO, like wouldn't you come explore, see what you got to see, and then leave?
Not necessarily. Like we talked about this all the time, even with like the Tic Tac video, right?
Sure.
This is around water.
They love water.
Like
and military base.
Does something have to do with water? Is there something frozen in the water? Maybe I don't know. Maybe
something crashed.
Maybe it did crash, but who the heck knows?
Yeah, see, that's the only thing that really like makes you think, why are they there? Like, what are they doing? What are they looking for? Or like, what are they searching for? Like we talked about on one of our couple videos ago, when they upgraded the radar technology now that they could see all these things out there. I just want to know why some of them are cloaked and why some of them aren't, why some of them show themselves and some of them don't. Like, it really makes you think.
It does make you think, but this sighting isn't over.
No, it's not.
So fast forward to October 10th, 1966.
Almost Halloween.
It came back. Here's my thing, right? We have from January to October now. Now we have 10 months. Nothing happened. There was no sightings. Nobody reported anything. And this is what makes it a little bit more credible to me. For 10 months, people were talking about it, but they didn't see anything.
And you would think they would be looking more closely.
Right. So there was no real big reports. It's mind-boggling to think that this is going to be a bigger sighting, but apparently it was from what people reported on it.
I don't know why this one didn't, make more headlines.
It was the same thing at 9 p.m. on the evening of Monday night, October 10th. Again, another patrolman, Robert Gordon, and his wife were in Pompton Lakes, and they saw this and described it. This is what he said. At first, I thought it was a star. And then Betty recalled, yeah, but it seemed to be moving. It had a definite pattern of where it was moving. It would move from left and then it would move up and down, back. Really had no idea what it was. And the same thing, the patrolman said, Gordon, he's like, there was no noise.
Here's like my only thing, the whole like Cold Wars and like the height, everything's going on. Be like a satellite. That's what I first thought about. They think it's a star, like it's got to be pretty high up there to think that, to be moving in a pattern, like could it be photographing something?
Yes, but then it's also weird because he said there was another patrolman that actually did go to the site, this patrolman Thompson. He said he turned on his red dome light, almost like interacted with him turning on the light. Pauses, stops, moves, and then shoots off. All right,
kind of like spooked it.
If you want to believe another patrolman's story, pretty much interacted with him turning on light.
yeah, to me, it kind of like spooked it. Like if you like shine a light on like an animal, it kind of like freezes for a second and then runs off. So it has to be some intelligent life form to actually do that.
Yeah, and even they were saying when he actually called into the switchboard operator and he was like, are we getting calls for this? Like, what's going on? And the switchboard was like completely jammed, they said. And they were saying it's all over Pompton Lake. It's all over in this area. It's crazy that it was just pretty much in this whole area of like a 20-mile radius and people were seeing it. And they said there was over 150 calls the last hour.
Which is insane.
Even he said it, Ben Thompson, the patrolman, I think I just saw a UFO.
Why doesn't this get more play?
This story, granted, there's really no pictures out there.
No, there's not. There's no pictures of Roswell.
No video. Right, but that's the thing. I mean, I guess you had the denial, the cover up, so that's kind of like
on the newspaper.
Yeah, you see him holding up like the weather balloon, and and you did have one witness that saw the crash that said there was debris, and then now there's nothing. And that's the one thing that I never understand about these kinds of stories. You have all this information. You have so many witnesses. If there was one person, if me and you saw this UFO,
you can discredit that maybe, but like
really
hundreds
quick
of people in a 20-mile radius, I don't think you can.
Yeah, mayors, police officers, little kids.
I don't know, maybe they don't have them saved anymore, but I would love to hear the radio traffic of the cops back to their dispatch.
You can go online and hear interviews of these people talk about this. Yeah, when you type in Wanaque UFO, not a lot comes up. If you do find some stuff, it's crazy to listen to. And there's no way to really fathom this at all, because then we come to the denial and cover up. And that's where it really gets interesting.
I don't know. All these denials and cover-ups never really get interesting to me because they're all the same.
They are, but again, people buy it.
I don't know how.
People do buy it. Shortly after the first sighting, there was a lot of people that were like, all right, what's going on? There was an Air Force Base in New York.
Stewart Air Force Base. And they said, all right, we had a helicopter with a very powerful beacon on it, and it was on a mission over that area at about the same time that the UFO was, being seen. Which could be plausible, but not the silent nature of the craft that they saw.
Well, because then here it comes, just with Roswell, just with anything else. Following day, there comes a denial. One of the actual majors, Major Sherman, denied such aircraft had been on such mission the night before, even though they stated that the night before. And he said that there was no helicopter there. There was no explanation. We don't have anything else more for you. And then the next day, the Pentagon said that the mysterious object was indeed a helicopter with a powerful beacon on it. They were trying to figure out what's going on themselves, and they were kind of flip-flopping back and forth.
Which I think if you just came out and said, like, we don't know what's going on, we're going to investigate, we'll look into it and get back to you, I think more people would be apt to trust the government than just saying it was a helicopter. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was.
Well, yeah, it gets even weirder then, because from McGuire Air Force Base in Wrightstown, then they said the object was a weather balloon.
It always comes back to a goddamn weather balloon.
Yes, which was launched.
I've never seen a weather balloon. Have you?
No, but this one was launched from Kennedy International Airport, and that's pretty far away from where they are, because that's kind of like, I would say, in the middle from where Wanaque, Pompton Lakes, and where we are. It's kind of right there.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what they were saying. See, and this is where it gets really weird. Maybe the government does this kind of stuff. They throw out all these little things, so people hear this, people hear that, and then everybody's like kind of confused. Well, I heard this. Well, I heard that.
Yeah, probably, because they don't want anyone to know the real truth.
Again, Air Force Base, McGuire, they pretty much denied any interest in UFO. However, Wanaque police reported seeing a pair of jets flying over the reservoir shortly after the UFO was first reported.
Yeah, I wonder why.
And this was from the patrolman Joe Cisco, said that he distinctly recalled seeing helicopters in the Wanaque sky that night.
So they were probably looking for something and looking for this object.
So here we have a patrolman that saw something weird that can't explain it, but he also sees helicopters. He sees planes.
So if he could tell the helicopter and the planes, he should have been able to tell if that UFO was a helicopter or not, which he said it wasn't. I would believe the first-hand account of that guy.
It really just gets convoluted, and people are like, well, I don't even know what to believe. The government's saying it's saying it's weather balloons, and the government's saying it's helicopters, and the government says none of this existed. Then we're getting
just Mars and Venus.
They did say that.
I know.
And Washington came out with their own report from the Pentagon saying it's nothing more than the planet Venus and Jupiter.
I mean, I've seen the planets, but they don't look like they're 200 feet above me.
I don't know what to believe, because then people, they reported men in black coming to their homes. Is it the true men in black? Is it aliens coming down?
Or is it the CIA?
Is it the CIA coming in? Because they did confiscate a lot of pictures that people took.
It's so fucked up.
Yeah, they were telling people don't talk about this anymore, because then, you know,
that would just make me want to talk about it even more, because then I know it's something out there that you guys are afraid of. If you're like, oh, don't talk about this anymore.
It's true. I don't know. So you do have the government cover up. It doesn't just go from, you know, the Air Force bases that surround this area in New Jersey. It went all the way to Washington, and then not only from Washington, all the way to the Men in Black.
I would assume that there's a Project Blue Book case about this one.
I've never come across that. I'm sure there is.
I'm sure somebody looked into it from that project or one of the other projects that were going on at the time and that are probably still going on, but I would love to know what they actually thought.
I would too. And that's the thing, like looking at this case, I don't know how more people don't think this is the holy grail almost of UFO sightings. More people aren't saying like, this is it. Like when we talk about UFOs, this is the event. Wanaque, New Jersey, 1966. Not only one night, 2 nights, 3 nights of UFO sightings.
It's definitely a fascinating.
I love it. I personally love it.
I mean, and it's in our home state, so that makes it another tick up for Weird New Jersey.
Hometown haunts. We go up there, you know, sit on the dam with our lawn chairs and look up at the night sky, and hopefully it happens again.
What do you honestly think it is then?
Are we giving this thumbs up, thumb downs?
Well,
thumb up, thumb down? Are we doing it?
Sure.
I'm giving this a thumbs up.
So you think it's a legitimate UFO?
I'm giving this a thumbs up because I think this is a true UFO sightings. Not because like the government, what they said, but because the government was tailing something. I don't think they would be tailing something, you know, when they were doing like a test. I think they would be on the ground watching, you know, from a distance, and they wouldn't be sending up helicopters, planes to tail this thing or look into this. Mm-hmm. And I think just the flip-flopping back and forth when they should have just said, yeah, it was a training mission. You know, we were here doing this. It's nothing to worry about. This is what we're doing. But they didn't do that. That raises a lot of red flags for me. And then when people start talking about the Men in Black, and then all the people that's seen it, you can't discredit that. You can't. That's why it's a thumbs up for me.
I would say the real thing that sold it for me when the cop turned on his dome lights and the thing kind of interacted with it and looked spooked. I think that's the thing that sold it for me.
So you're giving it a thumbs up?
I do. I'm giving it a thumbs up because I think you can explain away maybe the first sighting, but that sighting alone, I think, proves that something intelligent was out there.
Yeah, but it wasn't just one sighting.
I know.
2 sightings, 3 sightings.
But I'm just saying, like maybe the first sighting you can kind of explain away, but that sighting you can't. It's all in the same area and it's all in the same town, so that's what really sold it for me.
Yeah, I have no other explanation. There's so many theories you can go down, and we could probably revisit this if there was new information that comes to light and say, oh yeah, maybe it was the military doing some crazy shit and we're thinking it's a UFO. I don't know. Let us know your thoughts. Definitely look into the Wanaque story of the UFO from 1966. This is the one. I think this is the one.
This is the Holy Grail.
Holy Grail. I don't know. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit that bell for notification. Follow along to all the weirdness at nightmare365.com. Visit our shop. Greg's not wearing a tee. I'm not wearing a tee. This is from Weird New Jersey, right here in the Pine Barrens. And until next time,
stay spooky.
Have you heard of this UFO story before? Like before we actually said, I was like, yo, Wanaque, New Jersey.
I didn't even know if that was a real place or not. So no, I didn't.
I mean, there is Christmas trees involved in this.
There is.
It all started with the Christmas trees. Fuck. I am so thrown off because I don't even remember because we did like so many takes.
I got it. Just say, yeah, there was
Christmas trees. We just yelled Christmas trees.
Well, that's part of the story. Yes, there was Christmas trees, but that's not the real story, and I'll pick it up.